Okay. So you can go ahead and read all this horse shit because I can tell you it gets pretty long. Remember, Steve Bannon claims that he wrote this. Okay. So, I mean, think about this a second. Look at this. How the Fed eggheads make your wealth disappear by destroying the economy until the dollar is almost worthless. Wait a second. Wait a second here. Dollar's almost worthless? I mean, the dollar's only recently fucking slipped. And dollar's worthless. I mean, what are you talking about? Wait a second. Let's take a look here at the dollar. You know, you got these gold kingpins for years, you know, starting off with Peter Schiff talking about hyperinflation. Dollar's going to collapse. It's going to be worth basically nothing, right? Well, what's happened? Let's take a look at the dollar here. So how's the dollar going to be worthless? I showed you this chart. Let's take a look. U.S. dollar index. Now, you all know about the dollar, right? Generally speaking, for the most part, dollar goes up. Most of the time, most of the currencies go down, right? The currencies oppose the dollar. All other currencies in the world. Now, there's things that can make, you know, a particular currency go up when the dollar goes up and vice versa. But generally speaking, right, you know why? Because the dollar fucking runs the show. Dollar runs the fucking show. You got it? You know why? Because America runs the fucking show. You got it? Right? Which, by the way, you know, as I mentioned before in the past, don't ever let any fucking idiot out there tell you to buy a world index fund. You don't want no fucking world index fund. You don't need to bet on the world. You bet on the fucking empire. You bet on America. Okay? You want to bet on the Philippines? You want to bet on Ukraine, Russia, Zimbabwe, Kenya? You got it? You want to bet on their investment markets? Go for it. Okay? If you want international exposure, you got it with the S&P 500. 40 to 50% of the revenues of the S&P come from international operations. But guess what? They don't come from ma and pa shit show in Cambodia. They come from McDonald's in Cambodia. They come from Nike and Microsoft in Cambodia. You got it? Why do you think the developing world is developing? It's developing largely because of America. It's because of the advanced countries that have sent jobs overseas and technology transfer. You understand that? America runs the fucking world. It runs the show. No one comes close in terms of military, technology, innovation, education, right? And then on top of all of that, you've got the dollar that runs the whole fucking commodities industry. Every time somebody in China buys rice, that generates demand for the dollar. You know why? Because rice is settled on the commodities exchanges in dollars, just like oil, just like gold, just like everything else. Okay. I wrote about this 20 fucking years ago, by the way. It doesn't even matter if the dollar's dethroned, which it's not going to be. It ain't going to be in our fucking lifetimes. I can guarantee you that. Okay. It doesn't even matter, though, because America runs the show. And the U.S. dollar is backed by the taxing authority of the U.S. government. You understand that? You got that, right? So let's take a look at the dollar index here. It's been weak lately because of this rate cut. So it's fallen a lot recently. But let's put that into perspective here. I think what's happened, because it's actually quite surprising how much it's fallen. I think what's happened is it was strong for so long that everybody jumped on the short trade for the dollar, right? Because the U.S. economy is still relatively speaking, it's relatively strong, yet you've got the dollar has fallen against economies that are much weaker. Okay, so I don't see no collapse in the dollar. In fact, if you go back, ever since the financial crisis when the dollar was bottom, take a look. Remember, take a look at that. Take a look at that. The dollar is up very strong since the financial crisis. Remember, you had people out there, namely one guy who is apparently boozing it up all the time, named Peter Schiff, talk about hyperinflation. He went on hyperinflation for years, and everybody followed him. This is the gold pumping line. You're hearing about hyperinflation now, even some of these people talking about that. They don't tell you about hyperinflation that occurs in the shitholes that they recommend you invest in, like Argentina. They talk about hyperinflation in a country where it's virtually impossible to occur in, the U.S. You got it? Now, if you live in one of these destabilized second or third world countries, hyperinflation should be a concern. But if you live in a stabilized, advanced nation, especially the only superpower in the world, America, you ain't ever going to see hyperinflation. That's just fact. Okay? I mention this because, of course, this whole inflation thing. Number two, gold does not protect against inflation. It's not a hedge against inflation. Okay? It's not a hedge against inflation any more than rice or any other commodity. It just isn't. It's actually a better hedge against deflation than inflation. But that's the big thing you hear about. And in fact, let me just go ahead and show you something here while we're on that topic. Folks, you're not going to hear this anywhere else in the world, I can assure you, because not many people out there are knowledgeable enough and confident enough to go against the grain and tell you the fucking facts. Most people are followers. But when you're the big swinging dick, you're going to come out and tell people things they've never heard before. And you'll back it by any amount of fucking money because you know that you're right. Remember, I'm the guy that predicted the details of the financial crisis. I'm the guy that was recommending NVIDIA and has continued to every single fucking year since 2009. Before anybody had a fucking clue who they were. So I'm probably not some fucking chump off the street. Got it? I think you all got it. Let's take a look here. And let me show you gold while we're on the topic. Because, you always hear gold. Oh, inflation's coming. Inflation's coming. Buy gold. Buy gold. And so what happens is that, the Peter Schiff is out there. Peter Schiff, the sissy fools out there, the gold pumpers have been waiting for this time all along, right? Some of you don't remember. You all don't know. All these guys pitching hyperinflation narrative all these fucking years, it kind of died off, and then kind of cryptocurrency took off. And I'm so happy. It's so funny to me. I love it. As much as I'm against cryptocurrency because it's kind of a criminal operation, but I love it that cryptocurrency has done something that the gold guys, the gold pumpers could never do. I love it. The gold pumpers tried so much, so hard many years ago, and they're still trying today to make gold mainstream. They've been trying for fucking decades with all their conspiracies and all their horse shit. And guess what? The cryptocurrency guys, they were able to make cryptocurrency mainstream pretty quickly. So I fucking love that. I think it's great. It's hilarious. Because you know what? The cryptocurrency guys, they didn't exactly, the whole pitch wasn't, I don't think the cryptocurrency pitch was fraudulent. I don't think people were sold on cryptocurrency based upon a bunch of horseshit and lies. I think there's some delusions and some misconceptions, and a lot of it's been, they've been lured into it because of the casino, which has been made into by Wall Street. In contrast to the gold kingpins that have been pitching gold based on false pretense and lies, which has caused people to miss out on tremendous wealth, which they could have obtained if they had put that money in the stock market. So I think it's hilarious. It's great that the cryptocurrency guys achieved what the gold kingpins could never do. And they must just fucking hate it. They hate it. Take a look at gold. I wanted to show you something because you're always hearing about how, inflation's coming, buy gold. Gold's a hedge against inflation, right? You all hear all that all the time. Well, let's take a look. Let's just take a look here and see if that's true. So remember when we had inflation? Let's take a look at a 5-year chart. Now, let's go back here. Now, this was the pandemic, right? You see gold. Gold popped in the pandemic. Gold rises during periods of crisis and uncertainty. It's a short-term place to park assets for institutions. Okay? That's what you see here. After that short-term period, people get out of it. Institutions get out of gold. Also, central banks buy gold in order to protect their currency. Right? So if their currency is in jeopardy of falling rapidly, what the central banks will do is they'll park money into gold. And once the currency collapses, they'll buy gold. They'll buy the currency. I mean, Russia's been doing this cyclically for quite a long time. So you see, after the, pretty much after the lockup in America ended, take a look. Gold peaked out in July, beginning of August. You think it's any coincidence that it peaked out then and started to come down? You got it? You understand what moves gold? Now, what happened a couple of years later? Well, we had now, you can see by, I think it was the consensus pretty much by fall of 2021 that we had a problem with inflation. And I believe inflation peaked out in June of 2022 at around 9% in the US, maybe a little higher. Okay. But you can see gold was not going up during this very high inflationary period. You would have thought they would have soared way past this period here. Gold, inflation was at a multi-decade high. What happened? Nothing. Because why? Because gold is driven by things other than inflation, folks. Okay, now there is some tie-in to inflation with gold, but it's mainly due to the implications of interest rate changes. Why? Because if there is inflation, right? If there is inflation, gold is not going to rise in many cases. There's many variables involved, so you can't really say, you can't make rules of what's going to happen, predictable rules. But generally speaking, folks, when interest rates are high, people don't want gold. Why? Because gold doesn't have any fucking dividend, has no return. Okay? Likewise, when interest rates come down, gold is a little more attractive. You see? So you can just take a look at this chart here. We had all this high inflation. What did gold do? It didn't do a whole lot. Okay? So I didn't even talk about the period after 1980, right? When gold collapsed after peaking out at about $800. It collapsed for about 20 plus years and did nothing, right? Did nothing. We can take a look at that chart right here. See that? No one talks about this. The gold guys, they'll give you selected periods to talk about. Take a look at this period here. Now, you all know what was going on in the 70s. We had two Middle Eastern oil crises. We had the 7-day war, was it, with Israel and, I don't know, Egypt, or I don't know. We had a conflict in the Middle East, right? But it was mainly the two oil crises we had, the Saudi, a lot of inflation in the U.S., and this was also, don't forget, this is also during the period when Nixon decoupled the dollar from gold, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on in the 70s. Let me move this here, and here we go. So during this time, and you might want to take a look, I mentioned the name Doug Casey in the previous stream. Some of you might know this charlatan. He's in the gold pumping circuit. He's just kind of a complete career con man. And he's, I would say he's probably got one foot in the grave. And I'll be celebrating when that does happen. Because I like it when evil, scammy, fucking swindlers die. I like that. It means innocent people aren't going to be defrauded by that person. You can go on, matter of fact, ScamTube, I can guarantee you, it's got Phil Donahue. You can take a look at the Phil Donahue show. You can see Doug Casey was on there. And about when gold was at its peak, telling everybody he had written this book. Of course, Doug Casey's he's part of the group, so he gets promoted. He has this book floating out there, when everything's bad and everyone's scared about everything. Doug Casey's got his book, doom and gloom book, right? He tells everybody they got to buy gold. They should have 40% of their net worth in gold, right at the top, at the peak. All this horse shit. You can read the book. It's complete horseshit. Everything was wrong. Just like Peter Schiff's fucking book. You got everything wrong. And take a look what happened. We had high inflation. But guess what? Gold went down and down, and it stayed down. It stayed down. Take a look. How many years? If you bought here, you don't have to buy it up here at 840 or whatever, 850. Buy somewhere around here, let's say $600, you're down 30, 40, 50% for 20 years. And it gets worse. It gets even worse. It's down to $300 by the turn of the century, $250 even. How many people are going to hold on? I mean, remember, folks, most of the people buy gold around here. They're buying it here. Same thing in 2010, late 2010. Most of the people, just like NVIDIA, when Tom Nash is getting all his suckers telling them they can buy NVIDIA and never have to work again, several months ago, this is when NVIDIA was peaking out, and it collapses thereafter. You understand what I'm saying? When the suckers move in, you can predict the fucking collapse. That's how I predicted. I sold my gold and silver at the fucking peak. When I saw Alex Jones and Max Kaiser move in on the short JP Morgan. Okay. So when you see this very rapid parabolic move, you know the bubble's going to burst. That's exactly what happened. So remember, most people are going to get caught up here. This is the volume up here, I'm telling you. Imagine if you got caught there, what happened to you? This is 1980, 1981. Think about it. We're going now 20 fucking years later. Are you going to hold your gold? Are you going to be able to hold your gold for 20 years at these losses? Are you going to sell at some point? What are you going to do? You get no fucking dividends. How many people survived this? They got fucking destroyed. And take a look at gold. Went down to $200. Okay? Take a look at that. Take a look at that. Okay? Look at that. Only after the dot-com collapse, shortly after the gold bull market began, I was all over that. I was working at Bear Stearns. I made the call. In late 2001, I started getting people into gold. Okay? But take a look. You're talking about how many years before you break even? How many years? Right? And it's not adjusted for inflation, by the way. Remember, you bought gold. If you bought gold back here, you're holding it for 30 fucking years. That's inflation eating away it. It's not paying any dividend. So the inflation adjusted price is probably, right here actually. is probably, I would say, at least 1,200. Okay, at least you can. I'm sure you can go on some sites and figure it out. So think about that. Okay, that's why you want to be careful. Gold ain't no investment; it's an investment transaction. Okay, and you don't want to be stuck in gold when it has a downturn because it can last for a fucking lifetime. You see, and it pays no fucking dividends. Now, interestingly, one of the easiest calls, and I've been a very accurate predictor of gold for many years. Very accurate, probably 85, 90%. And one of the easiest calls I made was many months ago, calling the bull market, the recent bull market in gold. And it's going higher. And it's quite simple. It's because of the Chinese. It's one of the easiest calls I've ever made. It's because of the Chinese. I've known this for quite a long time. It's because I've known what's going on in the Chinese economy. You see? But it ain't going to last forever. Especially if they get more stimulus out. The more stimulus they actually correct their problem, which their stimulus is not really going to do, I don't think. It's too much monetary, not enough fiscal. But once their real estate problem is corrected, it could be a big smackdown for gold. You see? Bottom line, folks, is gold ain't an investment. You want to invest in gold, do what I'm doing. You know what I did to invest in gold, to invest in this bull market? A few months ago, I bought Newmont Mining, or Newmont Corp, they call it now, at $30, $31. That's the safe way. You invest in a blue chip. None of that other bullshit, Barrick and all that horse shit. Newmont's the king. They pay a dividend. They're a solid company. You understand? And you're not paying no fucking gold dealer commission. You don't have to worry about liquidity. Or you can buy GLD. But of course, the gold frauds, they got their conspiracy horseshit. They're going to tell you, oh, the ETF is not backed by gold. I don't give a shit. Shut your fucking face and get out of my way. Right? So let me show you here. Just more of the stuff. This is just volume 1. Right? Money printing, and they talk about quantitative easing. Take a look. They talk about quantitative easing, printing money. Part 2. Just find it online. The world dumps dollars. All this complete horse shit. Okay? I mean, take a look. Once again, volume 3, the debt trap. Debt doesn't fucking matter. Okay? Doesn't fucking matter if you print your own currency. Especially if you're an advanced country. Especially if you're America. All right? I'm not even going to get into that. So this is, so they want to talk here about, the contingent liabilities, right? Which I wrote about 20 fucking years ago. Everybody's stealing my material. Okay. Folks, all you got to ask yourself is, why aren't they showing you talk about the stock market, right? And then you've got even volume 4, all this shit. So remember, here's the key thing. Supposedly Steve Bannon wrote this. No, he didn't. He didn't write this. It's a lie. This is fraud. This is written by some fucking hack working at Birch Gold. You understand? Birch Gold doesn't want to put their name on this because if they do, they can more easily be sued for fraud. So instead, they pay Steve Bannon. And of course, not only that, but Steve Bannon has obviously a wider reach, and you've got stupid people who are going to believe this guy, even though he's been convicted of fucking fraud from the GoFundMe thing. He's been, he was tied into Miles Kwok, right? The Chinese so-called supposedly billionaire who defrauded people of $1 billion, who's now in jail in the U.S. fucking prison. You see? So this is kind of the epitome. I haven't seen any other person actually claim to have written something, this horse shit from Birch Gold. They've actually got him on some little ebook publication crap to pitch the whole gold horse shit. So this is what you talk about, folks, when you're exposing the gold pumpers. And I don't, exposing these guys like the talking heads, the endorsement guys, that's like low level shit. This is low level shit, I'll be honest with you. I've exposed the deeper stuff. Okay? This is low level stuff. But even this, you're not going to get anybody exposed to this extent because they don't know what the hell's going on. You got people like Scott Schaefer who calls the whatever these websites a scam because they don't post the price that they're selling. Listen, they don't have to post the price that they're selling a coin for. Why? Because gold prices change, They may have it in their inventory. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. That's not a scam. A scam is when you are pitching something and getting somebody to call in, offering something, and you do a bait and switch or something else, That's what I'm talking about, folks. You just got... I could have made a fortune, if you can imagine, pitching gold, because I actually recommended gold many years ago, but I recommended to have an exit strategy, and to not buy physical gold. See, that's where that's what separates me, is I know the physical gold, the gold dealers are going to fucking rip you off. You don't want to do that. Buy the gold ETFs. You trade it. Gold is very volatile. You see, you want to trade that volatility. You don't just fucking buy and hold it. That's stupid. You don't want to do that. The only time you want to do that is when it's clearly in a bull market. But many times it's not in a clear bull market. You see? I'm not going to talk about any forecast on gold or anything like that. I already gave you guys enough information right there. I'm not going to mention anything about that. That's my research. That's my intellectual property. Okay. The point, though, is to show you guys gold is the last thing you want to be buying as an investment. Okay. It's just not a good investment. It's only a good investment if you're in a shithole. If you live in a shithole country with a very destabilized situation. Okay, if you're in Venezuela, it might be pretty good to have gold. If you're in Argentina, it might be pretty good to have gold. Right? If you're in many of these other countries, it might be pretty good to have gold. You'll note many countries in Asia, they buy gold. That's tradition. Why? Why do you think a lot of these countries in Asia buy gold? Aside from tradition. You know why? Because they can't trust their fucking banking system, because they've had so many banking failures throughout history. And they don't really have much in terms of guarantees. See, they don't have like an FDIC that's going to guarantee every account a large amount of money. They have small guarantees. So the banks are very mistrusted in many of these countries. Okay. So basically, if you are privileged enough to be living in a country that's stable, it's advanced, then gold should not be on your fucking list to have, other than for jewelry or something like that. I mean, I had gold coins. I used to collect gold coins, silver coins. There's nothing wrong with that, but don't plan on making money off the coins, because chances are pretty slim It's probably not going to happen for the most part. It's very difficult. Okay. Unless, I made money off mine only because, I bought them. I bought my gold and silver coins back in, early 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. You see? So gold went up so much that, yeah, of course you're going to make money. But, the coins are pretty cool. The silver are much cooler than the gold ones. I mean, right? So I'm just saying, folks, the problem is they scare people with all this horse shit, all this mythology. And I already showed you guys, the chart of gold and how it's not necessarily a hedge against inflation. If you want to hedge against inflation, there's many other things I can think of to buy, okay, that are going to be better investments. One thing is real estate. Real estate's a great hedge against inflation. Just ask any renter out there over the past few years. Anybody that's renting a house or an apartment, you ask them over the past few years what the hell happened to their rent as inflation soared. You think their rent didn't go up? So the only other thing I'll say is, you want to buy gold and silver as an investment. You got a lot of time on your hands. You wait till nobody wants it, then you can buy it when nobody wants it. You see, you don't want to be buying it when everybody wants it. You see, time to be buying gold really as an investment was a long time ago. I mean, as an investment, even I bought some gold investments a few years ago, but I got out of them and then I got back in, say little last year and then this year, right? But it's not really an investment. It's kind of investment, say, strategy, right? I would never buy gold, pure gold, as an investment. See, here's the thing. They get people in this mindset. This is the big problem that nobody understands, the psychology. What these people do is they feed you this narrative where it's all backed by the dollar's worthless, the Federal Reserve did all this, and here's what they do, and all this horse shit, because they get you to buy gold and never fucking sell it. That's the big danger. They don't want you to sell it. You see? And so you don't have an exit strategy. You want an exit strategy with gold. You got to have an exit strategy with gold and silver. But you see, you've got these guys that believe this mythology, and so they never sell it. And at some point, they're going to get caught. You see, when they want to sell it and they can't because it's down too much relative to when they bought it. That's the main problem, is they get people in this mentality, don't understand gold. They fall for all these conspiracies and all this horse shit. You see, that's the big problem. And of course, 20 years ago, well, I'll say not 20, about, let's say 30 years ago, there was no gold ETFs, right? 20 years ago, I'd say 20 is about when the first one was launched, around that time, maybe about 22 years ago. Imagine when there's no gold ETFs, right? You've got ETFs now. Perfect vehicle for gold, because gold is very volatile, right? It's very volatile. You want to take advantage of that volatility, okay? You don't want to hold it. You want an exit strategy, because there's times to be in gold and times you don't want to be in gold, right? You didn't want to be in gold after 2011. If you were in gold after 2011, you got fucked. You got fucked for another 10 years. You had to wait another 10 years to break even if you bought it in 2010, 2011. 10 fucking years, right? You understand? And you'll have another period like that at some point. It's going to happen. At some point it'll happen. I don't know when, but it will happen. I don't know where it'll bottom. There'll be a period where it's doing jack shit. and someone's going to be stuck in it because they don't understand how it operates, how it works. And a lot of the stuff is dictated by the crowd effect, right? Who do you think creates all this horse shit? Gold would be a lot better off if you didn't have all these scam artists pumping it. In fact, I wrote an article back in 2009 talking about how gold is in a bubble and it's going to pop. And it's unfortunate because I think it could stay in a bull market for quite a long time if it weren't being manipulated into this bubble. But instead, it was pumped up into a bubble and it popped, just like I predicted. And I knew I actually predicted it. I wrote an article. I predicted it would soar to $1,500 to $2,000, pop, and go down big time and stay down for many years. I was exactly right. They don't want you to know this stuff, folks. Why? The commission. Okay? Why do you think people like Peter Schiff hate cryptocurrencies? Because Peter Schiff can't make money selling you cryptocurrency. He can only make money for himself selling you gold. If he pitches cryptocurrency, he can't fill up his fucking pockets. You understand? These gold kingpins, they tell you all this horse shit that's not true about gold ETFs. You know why? Because they can't make money if you buy a gold ETF. They can only make money if you buy physical gold from them or their fucking buddies. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to have gold unless they're a criminal. I mean, gold has historically been used to launder money by criminals. It still is. Why would anybody want to hold a bunch of fucking gold like you're responsible for keeping it safe? Where are you going to put it? You could put it in your house. You can hide it somewhere. Somebody could steal it. Then what happens? Well, okay, you got to have it stored. That's where the new grift comes in. You can store it with this. They'll tell you, oh, we got an offshore place in case the government wants to confiscate your gold. The complete gold. The government's never going to fucking confiscate anybody's gold. That's a bunch of bullshit. Not in America anyway. They want to tell you all this horse shit. So you store your gold with some fucking company, and they get paid anywhere between 50 to 100 basis points, 0.5% to 1% of the value of your gold every fucking year. Think about that. I mean, why do you need to rob a fucking bank if you've got a legal business that can do that? You understand the danger now of disinformation and scammers manipulating people? Why commit crimes, like flat out crimes, when you can engage in scams that you can get away with? You see, there's no need to rob a bank anymore. Why would you want to rob a bank? You can make more money and do it legally on YouTube, right? It's important to know, to put into context of who you're listening to. So when I say something, you can write it down and take it to the fucking bank. And the second thing I'll tell you is that these videos, you better go ahead and save, because this channel is going to be gone. It'll be taken down. You mark my words. It'll be taken down. So save these videos, because I'm not going to be around forever. I'll be gone in a few months. I'm going to enjoy my life. I don't need this shit. Raise my blood pressure. So you guys can carry on and keep the videos and spread around. I can tell you that's what the best thing is to do. Best thing you people can do out there. Some of you already know the song and dance. And it's not just for me. It's for anybody. You know, it's amazing. There should be a course taught in high school, starting maybe from junior high, on how to think, how to process information in this modern world, right? I don't know why people are not told, look, the first thing you have to do now, these days, is you have to look into who you're listening to. What's the credibility of the person that you're listening to, right? What's the credibility? What's their track record? How are they qualified to be talking about things that they're talking about? You see? That's the first, most basic thing And people don't, apparently they don't think about that. That's common sense. It wasn't something that was a problem in the past before the internet, but now with the internet, you've got every single fucking jughead thinks they're an expert. And I had people telling me, they want to tell me that they know more about investments than me, like just amateur investors. I mean, I kid you not. I learned not to talk to people a long time ago because everyone thinks they're a fucking expert in everything. Well, guess what? I spent my whole fucking life becoming an expert in things that I focus on. I am an expert in several areas, and I know what I don't know. When I don't know something, I'll fucking admit it. I don't know it. I stay away from it. Okay? But you see, everybody thinks they're a fucking expert because of the internet. They're consuming horseshit content. And they think because they spend so much time and effort learning something, they think they've learned something, they think they're an expert. They have expertise. Well, maybe you do at the coffee table. But when you're dealing with a real fucking expert, sit down and take notes and be lucky that you're getting that information for free. Of course, that situation is such a rarity, I think, these days. It's pretty damn rare. It's all about flooding you with quantity, folks. The internet has created a new business model. It's quantity flooding, quantity content. They want to flood you with quantity content. Why? The more content, the more they can tag the ads. Ads, money, ads, money. The more quantity, the more difficult it is for you to filter through the real information. This is why only surround yourself with high level, high yield, truly high yield, high level content. Stay away from the bullshit, and bullshit is everywhere you fucking turn. I mean, the best way really is to stay off the internet. To be honest, stay the fuck off the internet.
terms of getting back as an investor, if it's coming down to here, almost irrespective of what's going on, I have to believe, if I have to make a call in advance, and of course I can change depending on what happens, but I have to believe this is where you want to start doing that 18, 17, around there. Their earnings report is a complete game changer, at least for quite a while. Bottom line, NVIDIA now is going to enter the realm of Tesla, Apple, and all these other big, I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works. I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works.